Greetings YouTube. Today we're taking a look at the Kershaw Leek. Now this is actually the second Leek I've owned. I picked this particular Leek up at a pawn shop. And I picked it up strictly because I wanted to do a review of this knife. I had actually gotten rid of my first Leek I ever owned because at the time it had fallen out of my favor as a carry, as everyday carry, and I needed some money, so I sold it to my friend Skull, and we'll get to that in a second about what happened for Skull once he got it. So the first thing you're going to notice about the Leek is that it is an all-metal design, so it's got steel, it's a frame lock, steel slabs, and it's very robust in its construction because it's what you're looking at. The scales are what hold it together, they are the support, they are everything all in one. So it's a very simple thing. It has a three-position pocket clip, which is very nice. This person had it in the tip down carry. Why, I cannot fathom you would do that, particularly seeing it as it is a flipper, and flippers should be carried in the tip up position, but that's just me. I carry tip up exclusively. I don't like tip down knives at all. But I do like this particular pocket clip design. I've always thought that was very attractive, and it works quite well because I did carry the Leek for quite a bit when I first owned it. Now, one of the things that fascinated me about the Leek when I first got it is that the Leek was one of the first knives for me that was assisted opening, and for me, flippers were a relatively new idea. You have to remember, I've been carrying knives for a very long time. For a very long time, that was Swiss Army knife. And then I got a Spyderco. So the ability to open a knife with one hand was cool. And then I saw knives that had thumb studs. And then eventually, there were knives that were flippers. And then the idea of assisted opening knives hit, and that was just too cool for school. And so I picked up a whole bunch of assisted opening knives in a very short period of time, and I carried quite a few of them for years. And I have grown far less enamored of assisted opening knives than I was at one time. And again, I'll get to that in a second. So like I said, it's pretty straightforward. Frame lock, you know what this is. And since I actually remembered to bring my scale today, 95 grams, 94 grams. So it's not a light knife. It's got some heft to it. So let's get to opening. So this has got thumb studs, but let's face it, it's a flipper. We're going to flip it, and it does have a nice snappy assisted opening system. With this particular design, uses a torsion bar, and it is a very attractive blade profile, hollow grind. It has the whole thing has this nice brushed finish, and it actually has stood up fairly well because this person did carry it for quite a bit as well, and there are a few wear marks on this, but because this thing is just so simple and the materials are solid quality, this knife has aged very well. This is a very good overall design. I happen to like this because it is not an overly large knife. The knives I carry right now are a little bit bigger than this. I like something like in the 3.5-inch range. This is a little bit under that. But it's still a very comfortable size. And the nice thing about this, it isn't a size that's going to make people nervous. Some people get very nervous when you whip out a big knife, and there's reasons for that. But this particular knife is a good scale, and it's not going to bug people. Now, as far as assisted openings go, I remember I mentioned I sold my original knife to my friend Skull from Skullagrim. She has far more subscribers than I do. Humorously, at one time, Skull and I had the same number. Now he has 1.3 million. But he purchased it from me, and he found it too slick, and I have to agree with him. This is too smooth. For me, even with my bare hands, this is a very slick knife. It's one of the reasons I stopped carrying it was because it was so smooth. And if I have gloves on, I cannot get this out of my pocket. It is just too smooth. Even with the pocket clip that assists me, it's very difficult to get this out of my pocket with gloves on because the gloves I wear at work are either a synthetic material or cotton. So they have no traction really at all. And for Skull, he solved that problem by, on this side he didn't have the pocket clip on, he put some grip tape. So he put grip tape on here so that it would allow him to draw it, as well as providing him some traction while it was in his hand. So he got around that problem by just cutting a piece that was the right shape. It was actually, he did a nice job, and then adhering it to the side. Now, he also had another problem after he purchased this, which is the torsion bar broke, which is one of the reasons that I don't carry assisted opening knives anymore, because it's just one more thing to break. Thankfully, it still functions as a flipper, so Skull continued to carry it. In fact, Skull preferred it without the torsion bar. He just as a straight-up flipper. Another reason I no longer carry assisted opening knives is that you have to overcome the torsion bar. Now, in this particular model, overcoming the torsion bar isn't difficult. I actually own some knives where overcoming the assisted opening system with one hand is actually somewhat difficult. I own a Meyer Co., which has an actual spring in it, which is actually, I have to do it with two hands. I don't feel safe doing it with one. That's a problem. Oh yeah, by the way, there is a there is a lanyard hole here, but it's on a small side. You're not going to get paracord through there. But if you like lanyard holes, that would be able to. You can get a ring on there or something. You could put something on there if you like, particularly like lanyard holes. Like I said, it's really snappy. It's a nice size. It's comfortable. It is a good design. Don't get me wrong. It's really nice. It's just that I prefer a knife that has more traction, and I prefer a knife that's a little bit bigger now, and I've moved away from assisted opening knives. I find that a good flipper or a well-tuned knife with a thumb stud that I can pop open with my thumb can open up almost as quickly or faster than some assisted opening knives. I'm looking at the Gerber Fast, for example. I can open them just as fast or faster than assisted opening. So I don't need the assisted opening anymore. But I happen to have a great fondness for the Leek because it was one of the first assisted opening knives I ever owned, and I kind of regretted selling it to my friend Skull, but at the time I needed money. So I picked this up. I think I paid $15 for it at a pawn shop, and it's in nice shape. It's like the guy kept pretty good. I mean, it's not shaving sharp, but he didn't ruin the edge, so it wouldn't take much to hone that back up. I have seen knives at pawn shops that people have just butchered. Thankfully, this is not one of them. But yeah, this is the Kershaw Leek. It is a nice little design. I happen to be very fond of it. I'm glad I could finally get a review of it here on my channel, and I was somewhat surprised when I discovered I hadn't. I'm doing a search in my file, in the folder for my gear review, and it's like there's nothing in there. I'm like, really? Nothing? Okay. So I was quite happy that I could get a Leek review here on the channel. So if you are a Kershaw fan, you probably already know about this. But if you are not, and you're looking for a nicely scaled frame lock assisted opening knife with a 3-position pocket clip, you can't go wrong with the Leek.